Welcome to the Blazor Charts tutorial. In this video, I will show you how to add the Syncfusion Blazor Charts component to a Blazor web app using Visual Studio Code. I will also show you how to visualize sales data in a column series chart with its basic features like legend, data labels, and tooltip. Visual Studio Code supports the .NET command line interface and the C# dev kit for building Blazor web app. In this tutorial, I will use the C# dev kit for creating the project. Before starting, make sure you have Visual Studio Code with the latest version of the .NET SDK and the C# dev kit. Let's get started. With Visual Studio Code already launched, I open the command palette by pressing Ctrl-Shift-P. Then, I select .NET New Project to set up a new project. Next, I search for Blazor Web App Template and select it. Then, I change the project name to Blazor App. Next, I select a folder to save the project files and choose a solution format. I want to create a Blazor web app with the server render mode and the global interactivity location, so I choose Show All Template Options. Then, I make sure the server interactive mode is selected, so components communicate with the server via signal R. I will change the interactivity location. I choose the global interactivity. So, server-side interactivity is available across the entire application. When I click Create Project, the application will be created. I open the Solution Explorer and navigate to the program CS file. Here, you will notice two methods: Add Interactive Server Components, which enables interactive rendering, and Add Interactive Server Render Mode, which configures the server's rendering mode. Next, I navigate to the AppRaiser component. Here you can see the render mode is set to interactive server within the routes and head outlet components. Next, I will show you how to add the Syncfusion Blazor Charts component to the app. First, I open the NuGet Package Manager, search for Syncfusion Blazor Charts, and select it. Then I install the required version. Installation is now completed. I open the Imports Razor file and add the Syncfusion Blazor Charts namespace, so I can use the Blazor Charts component in the Pages folder. Next, move to the Program CS file and add the Syncfusion Blazor namespace. Then, I register the Syncfusion Blazor service in the Blazor web app. I need to include the required script for the Blazor Charts component to work. So, I navigate to the AppRaiser file and add the script reference here. Now that everything is configured, let me proceed to add Blazor Charts. I open the HomeRaiser component. Then, I remove the default code and add the Charts component. I will show the chart's default output before adding any data. To run the application, I select the Run and Debug icon in the activity bar and click the Run and Debug button. Next, I select the C# debugger. Visual Studio Code then opens a menu with different launch configurations. So, I just pick the C# Blazor app default configuration. The project then starts launching. Now, the application is launched. You can see the default chart with an X and Y axis. Next, I will show you how to add data to the Blazor chart and display it as a column series. Inside the Syncfusion chart component, I define a Chart Series Collection tag. This tag acts as a container for one or more chart series. To create a single column series chart, I add one chart series tag inside the Chart Series Collection tag and set its type property to column. Let me start by populating the chart with data. I add the code block. Then I define a model class named Sales Data. It has two fields, month and sales value. These values populate the chart. Then, I create a list named Sales based on the sales data model and assign several entries for each month along with their corresponding sales values. Next, I assign the sales list to the data source property. Then I set XName to month and YName to sales value to map the chart data fields. To customize the X-axis, I define a Chart Primary X-axis tag and set the value type property to category. Now, you can see the column series chart displaying months on the x-axis and sales values on the y-axis. To add a chart title, I set the title property to monthly sales analysis. As the x-axis represents months, I set its title to months. For the y-axis, I define the chart primary y-axis tag and set the title to sales dollars as it represents sales values. As you can see, the column series chart displays the main title as monthly sales analysis, with months on the x-axis and sales dollars on the y-axis. Let me next show you how to add data labels to the chart to display information about the data points. First, I define the chart marker tag. Then, inside the chart marker tag, I define the chart data label tag and set its visible property to true. Now, you can see the column series chart showing the data labels for each data point. Next, I will show you how to add a legend to the chart. To add them, I define a chart legend settings tag inside the Blazor chart component and set its visible property to true. Additionally, I set the chart series name to sales to show it as a label in the legend. You can see the chart displays a legend for the column series. You can even toggle the series visibility by clicking on it. Lastly, let me make the chart more interactive by adding tooltips. I add the chart tooltip settings tag inside the chart. Then, set its enable property to true. Now the chart shows tooltips for every data point. Let me summarize. In this video, I showed you how to add the Blazor Charts component to a Blazor web app using Visual Studio Code. I also showed you how to visualize sales data in a column series chart with its basic features like legend, data labels, and tooltip. For more information on the chart's features, check out the documentation link provided in the description below. If you would like to see the working code of this example, you can download it from the GitHub link. I have also provided a link where you can see if you qualify for a free community license to use all our Blazor products. If you found this video useful, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.